I am after so many years, hounded by hatred and trapped by fear. I'm in a box. I've got no place to go. If I follow my mind, I know I slaughter my own. Help me, I'm the prisoner. Won't you hear my plea? I need somebody, yeah, to listen to me. I beg you, brothers and sisters, I'm counting on you, yeah. Black babies in the womb, shackled and bound, chained by the caveman who keeps beauty down, smacked on the ass when they're squalling and wet. And to a spineless man who never forgets, never forgets that he's a prisoner. Can't you hear my plea? 'Cause I need somebody, Lord knows, to listen to me. I'm a stranger to my son who wonders why his daddy runs. Yeah. Peace and love. Welcome again to the NEPPC podcast. I'm Brother Frank, and I'm with former political prisoner
Abdul Haq Islam.
Today's episode, we focus on the black media and its role in freeing our political prisoners. You know, this is an urgent episode. All of our episodes are urgent, but today's episode is very urgent because we're dealing with the crisis that's going on in Nebraska State Penitentiary, where inmate Ed Poindexter, political prisoner, member of the Black Panther Party, is being held. He's 78 years old, and he has a number of medical ailments. He has diabetes, he has cataracts, he had open heart surgery, he's confined to a wheelchair, and he needs support. He needs our support. So we're calling on people to write sign a petition, online petition, and we're all also calling people to call to the Nebraska State Penitentiary. We're going to provide that information for you, as well as Jamil Alamin. He has a retreat coming up in July. We're going to inform you about that, and there's a very important album that we spoke about last week, by Veronta Bowers, is Peace in the Chaos, and that's all on it's on all streaming platforms. So please share that, and share this episode with as number of people as possible. Let's continue to get that word out, and don't let political prisoners die in prison. And historically, when we look at the black media, we look at the black media when they serve the interest truly of the people, then they help bring more awareness and more support to the causes that the people stand for. We know the causes of people, majority of people being working class people, is the advancement of a working class. The only way we can do that is by being organized and committed to carry those ideas out. So that's very important that the black media plays their role. And black media is crucial in freeing our political prisoners. Brother Abdul Haq Islam.
Yeah, peace and love, brothers and sisters out there in the listening audience. Indeed, the media is critical, in speaking up for black issues, even though much of the media is financed, by corporations who kind of, give a script to what should be said. So it's when the people, though, raise their voices and put pressure, you understand, then the media, has to respond, in some type of way, to the voice of the people. So we're saying that the people must um, demand more and more and more that the media address those issues that are critical to the masses of black people. You talked about the Brother Frank talked about the medical condition of Brother Ed Poindexter. Indeed, um, many of us who've been through the prison system know that prison is the worst place in the world for somebody to get sick. You know, um, every department, every aspect of prison life is colored and given a character, by the racist, white supremacist, entities, that run the system. The medical system is supposed to be the most humane of all. Endeavors, of all categories, supposed to be the most humane, the most conscious and caring, but when you lock down in a penitentiary, everything can be affected by the KKK, white supremacists, hateful, environment that you're in, So it's incumbent that we make some noise, to bring our brother home, to the brother get brother Ed get the proper medical conditions, medical care, you know. I want to speak about some of the legal aspects of his case, as in many other cases, Mumia Abu Jamal, Imam Jamil and other people, lying, conflicting testimony, happened in Mumia Abu Jamal's case too, lying, conflicting testimonies by people who are trying to save their own skin, becomes like solid gold to a system, that has no interest in truth and no interest in justice. In the case of Ed Poindexter, his whole case is based on the testimony of Dwayne Christopher Peak, a young man who was 15 years old at the time, 1971, was facing a murder trial, and a young man who changed his testimony about 6 times, who's indeed charged with perjury. At one time he said that he carried out the whole act, that he made a bomb, he made the call, and delivered it, and then, in a letter, stating, his disappointment in himself, he even said that he would never ever even call himself a man because of being forced to testify and to betray a brother, to be a Judas, against one of his comrades, then, after testifying that he did it all, then he comes and testifies that it was Ed Poindexter, So, like I say, such lying, inconsistent testimony by people who are Judases, who will say anything to save their own skin, becomes as valuable as all the gold in Fort Knox to a system, of oppression, of murder, a criminal system, that thrives on falsehood and injustice, So, what is necessary, to combat these injustices and these wrongs is that the people to stand up and raise a mighty voice for justice, as Brother Ed Poindexter is going through this very, very terrible medical ordeal, also bring to mind the illegalities in the so-called legal case that put him in jail since 1972, and we must demand that the brother is free. There's some new evidence. There's a letter that the witness wrote. Christopher Hurd wrote, saying, talking about his shame, in testifying against the brother. There's a tape that said that there was a phone call that made it said it wasn't Peak that made the call. Peak said it was him, so it makes you wonder, who all is involved in this type of stuff, what type of voices, are in command. There's an FBI memo, saying that neither the letter or the tape was given to the defense. All this was hidden from the defense. So
that's what they call flimsy evidence, right?
Yeah, yes, flimsy evidence, fake, sham,
Yes.
And all these are grounds for a new trial, And as y'all know, in America, things only happen when there is an overwhelming and very, very powerful demand from the people. You can be innocent of all charges, and evidence can be very, very strong, but without, some pressure being put on these folks, they do what they've always done. We know the history of these people. We know that the system is a system of people who have gone around the world, murdering, stealing, lying, committing every evil, that known to mankind, So, we saying that this political prison issue is an issue that needs to grow louder and louder and louder. And indeed, we have the power. We have the power,
yes,
to put some pressure on this system, and make them pretend that they are truly about what they say they're about: justice, liberty, democracy, and
yes,
all those fairy tales, to make them forced to pretend that stuff is real.
yes. Those are very important points that you made. And I think that the black media has a very important role because black people make black media. So therefore, they have to advocate for the interests of black people. And now, when you look at anything that any people, in particular black people, gain, they gain it through the sacrifices of others. So political prisoners have made those sacrifices, and of course, our martyrs have made those ultimate sacrifices. So when we talk about our martyrs, we control our narrative. When we talk about our political prisoners, it's important that we control our narrative. Now, the black media has that platform to help us control our narrative. They have that ability to bring an idea to a number of people in various places. Therefore, when it comes to our political prisoners, they need to be on board. They need to understand that, you know, their position itself, for them to be able to document our life and our times, is because black people stood up and fought back, right? Because there was an issue at hand and it had to be documented, and the black media came aboard and documented from the black perspective, and therefore they had a demand, or they had to supply a demand rather, to advocate for black people and make sure that those ideas circulate in the black community, and now black people feel in a bigger position than they were currently was prior to an idea or a story of being documented and being brought to people. So when it comes to our political prisoners, our black media has to take a position that's very important and very definitive when it comes to our political prisoners, because they are the voice of the people. They are the voice of people who are oppressed and exploited, and they need to advocate that voice at a level that's as high, as amplified as possible. And I know when Matula Shakur had came home, the Amsterdam News had did a great job by letting the community, letting the black community know that he was home. I really thought that they did a good job putting out the letter that was actually wrote about him not being in body or mind able to commit any crime. So the state was satisfied with his current condition to release him. And I think that that was a very important letter because it bothered me to my heart. And I think that's the point of the media, period. And then when you talk about black media, they have that role to really let people know, like, this is what's going on in our community. This is what's going on to our freedom fighters. So when it comes to Ed Poindexter and other freedom fighters, we need black media to be on board. We are part of black media, and that's why we commit ourselves to doing this weekly podcast, whether it's one person or 100 people who is tuning in. We did our job. We played our role. We didn't identify a problem and just remain on the sideline and wait for somebody else to step up and accept that responsibility to advocate for an improvement or a change in the arrangement of things. But we did it ourselves. We took the initiative, and we call on other black media outlets to do the same. There's a number of podcasts that's out here, and everybody's pretty much holding on to the same story. We need certain podcasts to challenge themselves to break stories and to make sure that they do their job when it comes to people, because the people make everything. Because if you don't have the support of the people, then you can't have anything. So as a former political prisoner, we look at what's currently going on with Ed Poindexter, and we look at those medical conditions. How can the black media help with getting his story out there?
Well, you know, in a cliche, we would be, even though I mean it's men and sisters involved in the media, but stand up. You dig? Um, it is an outrage and a shame. You understand that institutions that directly affect the interests of black people, have so much are controlled, by the white supremacist, racist, you know, um, hateful elements, the corporate elements, that live by sucking the blood of the people, that these that have so much, as you say, control of the narrative. So as we give the accounts of various political prisoners, we see a theme running through their psychic, running through their narrative, a theme of honor, you understand, of being honorable people, of having some pride, having some backbone, standing up, So this is the message that we must give to the black media, and we must support those elements in the media, who indeed, show some manhood, show some womanhood. You understand? Don't be punked, by this criminal system, by this racist, you understand, that will always uh, put forth those ideas that serve the interests of the bloodsucker, that serve the interests of the cannibal and the vampire, So we have to stand up and fight, you understand, and tell the black media that we must more and more, serve the interests of the black people. Indeed, it serves the interests of the black nation, to make it a priority, to make it a growing priority that our political prisoners, those who fought for us must be free. The system, it says thanks for your service, to those people who go around the world murdering babies, rape, rob, and pillage, you understand, stealing resources from people. They say, thanks for your service, and they even got Negroes talking about them folks, thanks to your service, for those, for baby rapists and baby killers. We say that every institution, in the black community, must serve, and say thanks for your service to those freedom fighters, those who stood up against a horrible, monstrous, vicious, violent system, stood up courageously with great principles and love for the masses of the people, that we must say thanks to them and show that thanks by demanding, you understand, and campaigning for them to be free. And what's the call? Free them all.
Yes, indeed. We all have to take a position, and the black media has to take a position. And along with the black media taking a position, the institutions of faith, the masjid, the synagogue, the
Churches,
churches,
yeah,
they
all
all
of
got
it.
to take a position, right?
Correct.
Because what's going on when our political prisoners are being incarcerated? They're being tortured.
It's injustice,
It's a
right?
serious medical neglect. That's
And
a
justice
slow
is a
death.
moral issue, And you talk about religion, you talk about morality, and so yeah, so you should be standing up for justice. Whatever religion you're part of.
Indeed. So,
Mm-hmm.
there's work that each and every one of us have to do. And those who are part of different faiths, you have to call on them to step up. Rochelle McGee, he's been incarcerated for all these decades. And Ed Poindexter, all these decades. Brother Kamal Siddiqui, he's been incarcerated for all these decades. And so many of our political prisoners. Can't forget Joy Powell. That's why every week we make it our business to produce an episode for half an hour. We ask that you share it when 10 people subscribe to our channel. Our subscription is growing. We almost at 200. We need three subscribers shy of 200. That's a very motivational, and like I tell my brother Abdul Haq
Yeah.
Islam, whether it's one person or 10 people or 100 people viewing our episode, we did our work. We put something out there, and we rely on others to support our work by sharing. We say donate $1. $1 can go a long way. If you happen to see me in Queensbridge, I will be in Queensbridge tomorrow at this community support grieving group. And step to me, talk to me. Let's have a conversation. Let's talk about how you can support this work. We put out the information about calling on behalf of Ed Poindexter. We put out the information about Veronza Bowers' album. Listened to it several times. It's very powerful. It's very needed in this world where your mental health is being challenged on a regular basis. So, we have to do something. We have to be proactive and not always reactive. Because when we reactive, we coming from a place where we have to climb up, as opposed to we already on top of something and we just being stumbled, or we staggering, but we're not falling down. So I think that it's more helpful and less work to be done when you're coming from a position where you're proactive. But when you listen to this album, you can really go deep into yourself, and you could maintain some level of discipline in dealing with a world that so many issues are thrown at you. So, share the album and encourage others to listen to the album, play it where you should play it, and have others ask about it, and then you bring up the name Veronza Bowers. These are issues that we need to deal with when we're talking about political prisoners, because we want people to be encouraged to fight, and we want people to understand that there are consequences to fighting. Right? There are positive results and there are negative results. Positive results is you um, obtain your overall objective, and the negative results is your opposition is fighting back, and your opposition might have more resources, and being that they have more resources, now you're at their will, or at their mercy. And it's an unfortunate situation, but it's the material reality that we have to deal with. There's no gain without pain, and we have to understand that, and we have to really internalize that. So when we fight, we don't fight from some type of fantasy that we have in our head, but the reality that this is a part of fighting. So we have to resist. We have to be like our political prisoners, regardless of the circumstances. We have to continue to fight. Like I raised up a number of books, and that's another part of Black media. Black media isn't just news broadcasting; it's also books, books that
On that
document
point,
our
keep your thought.
time.
On
But
that
go ahead,
point,
brother. Speak.
on that point, the reactionaries right now are burning a lot of black books, and so they're letting us know what we need to be doing, what we need to be reading, you know. So I just want to inject that, as Frank was talking about, books. It's very, very important that we read, and that we get the correct information and we read the right thing. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, because when I look at Mumir's book, right, regardless of all the years that he's been incarcerated, he still stands firm on his position about the United States being an oppressive nation.
Mm-hmm.
He stands on his position about revolution being the only solution. It has to be a rearrangement of power, right? The working class need to be in power. They need their ideas and their position of power need to be at the highest level possible, because any and all things that are made possible to any people are made because of the working class. So they need to be given their credit. And so, regardless of his situation, he's still writing books, and these books need to really be read a number of times. People need to study them with their family. They need to have some political education with their family. So, as a family unit, when you're moving out in the everyday life, you have a basis by which to move out. You can refer to people who have been advocating for a societal change that's beneficial to common people for quite some time. And Mumia is one of them. There's this other book by Imam Jamil Alamin that I think is beneficial, Revolution by the Book.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a political prisoner. He's a political prisoner that we're trying to bring home. And he wrote, and he's letting you know about his position when it comes to how society is. And, that's very important that we control our narrative. This book right here, Prison Lives Matters. that gives a definition of political prisoners. Political prisoners being people who prior to their incarceration were involved in organizing for the advancement of people of African descent, working class people, and they did what they needed to do regarding organizing people and looking at issues that were detrimental to the advancement of common people and deciding that they were going to take a definitive position. Right, you have to say a definitive position because you want to make the distinction between your position and that of somebody who's liberal, and that is very important because now when we talking about our political prisoners, we're making that clarity that these are political prisoners, these are freedom fighters, these are not terrorists, these are not criminals, these are people with compassion hearts who are not on the sideline watching things happen, but are out in the midst of where things are happening and are making a decision that they are going to be in position of a struggle for power and not to submitting to the will of their oppressor. So, Brother Abdul Haq Islam, it's almost that time for your closing remarks,
Yeah,
brother.
an announcement. Brother Matulu Shakur is coming to New York. So to people in New York, in the New York area, at Reverend Daughtry's Church, the 29th of this month, that's the House of the Lord Church at Bond and Atlantic Avenue. Brother Matulu, very, very beloved brother. And like I say, this is the political prisoners I've been around, you get a feeling of strength and power, just being in their presence. And this is a brother like that, So come on out, whoever can make it, and meet Brother Batula Shakur. That's the 29th of this month, Reverend Daughtry's Church, House of the Lord Church at Atlantic and Bond Avenues in Brooklyn, New York.
Yes,
Free
and
them all.
so if you want to donate to the Matula Shakur, donate at matulashakur.com. And we'll be closing with this some of this song that's currently out. It's on all platforms. Yes, I'll play it one more time before we get out of here. Don't let political prisoners die in prison. What's the call?
Free them all.
What's the call?